Hello friends, welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. So I'm bringing you out here with me to do chores this morning, and my chore routine has changed a little bit. So if you've been around for a little while, you may recall that the first year that we moved here to Arkansas, we had a little bit of a situation that summer. So we had moved here. Well, moving here was a process. Moving an entire homestead and, getting a house ready for the market when we had never intended to move again. So moving was a little bit of a long process for us. And of course, we didn't want to leave the house empty in Alabama while we were in the process of moving. And, we just didn't want to leave the house empty because there's a lot of issues with crazy things happening to unattended properties nowadays. Although Alabama and Arkansas both have good laws about them, we just didn't want to tempt anything. Hi, baby. Yes, are you following me around? Yeah. So we had closed on this place in January of 2023, and we had put our place in Alabama on the market in April. We were under contract basically that week, kind of that day almost. Closed on the place in Alabama the end of May, and we had been here just over a month, and had met a couple of the neighbors, but not very many, just a couple of them. But somebody knew who I was. Apparently my announcement video back when I made the big reveal that we were leaving Alabama, that video had gone a little bit viral, and a lot of people here in Arkansas had made the connection. Including somebody on our road. Well, one evening, it was a Friday evening, I was getting ready to shut everything down and welcome in Shabbat. And of course, one of the last things I do is I shut off my computer. Well, I sat down to my computer to shut everything down, and I saw I had a message through Facebook Messenger. So I was like, okay, well, let me check my message real quick, and then I'll turn the computer off. Well, the message was from somebody who lives here in the area. And he was reaching out for help because he had discovered an entire litter of coonhound puppies that somebody dumped in the woods. And so he was reaching out to me to see if I could help because somebody on the road, somebody who knew who I was, I guess, said, hey, talk to the new people. They love animals. Oh gosh. So he reached out, and we didn't know who this person was, other than he lived here. And he told us, we found these puppies in the woods. It was really hot. It was full-on summer, end of June, beginning of July. And he said, can you help about these puppies? And I looked at Mr. Smith, and I was like, I do not want to do this. But is he going to leave the puppies in the woods? I mean, I didn't know this guy. I didn't know him from Adam. So I didn't know if he was going to take in the puppies or if he was just going to leave them out there in the woods or what was going to happen. And just the thought of all of these puppies being out there in the woods abandoned broke my heart, broke Mr. Smith's heart. So we threw together a quick makeshift pen out in one of the lean-to sheds and headed down the road, met this guy who is now kind of a friend, seems like a really great guy, and took in the abandoned puppies.
Oh, hello. Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, babies. Oh.
Hey, you.
Oh, where did you guys come from?
So where were they at?
I live at the end, and when I come home, I see them down at the pasture by the creek. Well, dogs come, people drop out dogs.
Yeah.
No, babies. Oh my goodness. No. No. Yes, hi, honeys. Alright, so we did a livestock trick, and we put a spot of paint on their backs to figure out boys and girls. It'll wear off, it won't be permanent, won't hurt them. Yeah. So there's 6 boys and 2 girls. So sweet, so sweet. Yeah. And miraculously, my daughter-in-law, the one who I just visited with in Tennessee at Fort Campbell, my son Joshua and his wife Anna and little baby Emma, she is a huge animal lover, and they volunteer with animal rescues and things like that, and was able to reach out to people and found homes for all but 2 of the 8 coonhound puppies. Now, we had the puppies for a couple of weeks, took them to the vet, got all their shots, got them dewormed, you know, the whole 9 yards, and loaded up one night, got on the road to Tennessee. And I drove through the night because we were in the middle of a massive heat wave, kind of like we are now a little bit. And these puppies were going to be in the bed of my truck, and I didn't want them dying of heat stroke in the bed of my truck, so I drove during the night. And I can tell y'all, I am too old for that. Whew, I'll never do that again. Used to do it all the time when I was young. So like I said, our daughter-in-law had gotten people to take on all but 2 of the puppies. And a day or so later, we got a message from a coonhound rescue group in Pennsylvania who were going to take the last 2. Well, then about halfway to Tennessee, got a message that one of the adoptions had fallen through. This one particular family had changed their mind, which kind of irritated me because it was like, couldn't you have told me before I drugged this poor puppy, you know, hundreds of miles in the heat? That's how we got our Ruby, because after we brought her back, she ended up staying. What y'all doing? This is my entourage. Pretty much every morning. They follow me all around while I'm doing chores. Except for Milk Dud. He just sleeps. And speaking of Milk Dud, he was the next one to show up. He just showed up one day at the house, sickly, pitiful, loaded with fleas, sneezing blood. And clearly he wasn't going to go anywhere, so took him to the vet because we didn't want him getting the other cat sick with whatever he had going on. And there's no real animal shelters where we live. There's one like in the town, but they're always, well, first of all, you can't hardly get a hold of anybody. They're always overrun. It's a small facility, and pretty much you take anything there, they're just going to put it down because they have no other options. And by the way, you can tell that the heat has arrived, actual summer has arrived. We have had such a mild year so far, but the creek is drying up and it'll be gone here before too long. Although we are supposed to have a chance of rain today. About this much, and about this much of a chance. So that is how we got Milk Dud. He just showed up. And then in November, this past November, Thanksgiving week, actually, well, the weekend before Thanksgiving, my son was just coming back from welding school, and there was a little bitty kitten in the driveway eating chicken scratch. It was so starved. And so we took him into the workshop where there was heat, because at this point it was cold outside. Put him in a crate in the workshop, food, litter box, you know, all the things, gave him dewormer, took care of him, and we were going to find him a home. Monday morning, the week of Thanksgiving, you know, just a couple days later, had an appointment, got him neutered, and he was actually a little bit older than we thought. He was about 7 or 8 months old, maybe even 9 months old. But he was just so skinny that, you know, he seemed younger. Hi, babies! And you know, it was so funny because I did not want any more cats. I did not want any more dogs, no more cats. We're full up around here. Our cabin is actually kind of small, not a lot of room. And, you know, a little rat terrier. An American Staffordshire Terrier / Shar-Pei with a sprinkling of cattle dog. Then we have a Catahoula mix. And then we've got Ruby, the coonhound. That's a lot. And of course we have Ava, our tortie cat. She came from the animal shelter in Alabama that I used to volunteer with. Frankly, I was tired of cleaning kitty litter boxes. I'm like, I don't ever want another indoor cat. And then Otis showed up, and Mr. Smith said he had to be an indoor cat. And that brings us to our current situation. Here you go, baby. Stay right here. Nope. Yeah, run, Amos. Like I said, that brings us to our current situation. You know, we live on a dirt road, off another dirt road. We live miles away from pavement. And there's really only one way in and one way out. And occasionally you'll see a stray cat or dog here and there. The dogs, you know, you might see once or twice and then they've moved on. Or they might not even be a stray, because around here people seem to just let their dogs roam free all the time. But occasionally you'll see a stray cat, and you kind of get used to them. You know which ones you see on a regular basis. And around the time that we saw, or that Otis showed up, we started seeing several young cats, all similarly colored to him and all about the same size as him. And so that kind of led us to believe that he was part of a whole litter that was dumped. But that brings us to today. So about a month ago, well, let me back up. A couple of months ago, someone decided it would be a great idea to dump some sofas alongside the road. Pretty crappy thing to do, particularly since you can just take your stuff to the landfill for very, very cheap and do it legally and not become a nuisance and a litter bug. You know what I mean? But anyways, somebody had dumped some sofas and they're still there. You know, it's several miles out before I reach pavement, and you know, just along the way somewhere there, someone decided to do this. Well, about a month ago, I was at home and Mr. Smith was on his way back from running an errand, or no, he was leaving to run an errand, and called me and he said, I think somebody dumped a dog by the sofas. There's a big black and brown dog over here. I'm like, lovely. So he came home, got some food, and took it to the dog. Well, I never laid eyes on the dog until about, well, it was like maybe a week and a half later. I saw the dog briefly in the same vicinity. I was on my way to an appointment, so I couldn't stop. And I'm like, well, if I see it when I come back, I'll stop. And it wasn't there. And then I didn't see it again until about 2 weeks ago. I saw this dog. And I was like, you know, somebody has dumped this dog. And I kind of figured out this dog had been there the whole time. But during the day, it's over in the shade in the trees. And then at night, it sleeps between the sofas. So I've started feeding him every day. And that's why my chore tasks have changed a little bit. Because after I get done doing all of these, I get in the truck and I go for a ride. So the first time that I decided to take him food, I pulled up and he was laying there as usual between the sofas. I took my phone and I wanted to get a picture of him sitting there before I, spoke to him or anything like that. I snapped a picture, and an instant later, he came flying out at me, snarling and growling in all teeth. And I thought, oh dear heavens, he's gonna kill me. I put up my hand and I did like the stop and the like, whoa, 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 like that, firm. And he just froze and he just kind of looked at me. And he kind of backed off a little bit. And so I just slowly, carefully grabbed the water, grabbed the food, and, you know, walked a long way around away from him, put the food and the water down for him, and got back in my truck, and I left. And the next day I came out, and he got up and he kind of looked at me, but he didn't growl at me, he didn't do anything like that, and he just watched me put the food and the water in there. And this has been going on for a few days. I went and got him a bigger bowl, one that can hold 2 gallons of water, because it's 1,000,000 degrees outside. And, you know, I didn't want him getting thirsty. And I'm going out here twice a day. And a couple of days ago, he, as I'm standing there, well, oh, I don't know if I'm going to catch this. There's turkeys in the middle of the road. It's a baby turkey. Oh, they're baby turkeys. Baby turkeys. Look. Go, mama. Go, mama. Call your babies. Call your babies. Oh, I don't like it when there's babies. Oh, there they go. There it goes. Are there some more? I don't want them to run out in front of me. Oh, I came through here a few weeks ago when there was a whole bunch of baby turkeys. Now she's only got 2, it seems like. I'm going to go super slow because I don't want any to run out in front of me. So as I was saying, a few days ago, I walked over and I was pouring the water into his bowl. And he had gotten to where he was walking up to me while I was putting stuff in the food and the water bowls. And on this particular day, he walked up to me, stood next to me, and now I don't talk to him face to face. I'll let him hear my voice, but I don't look at him, because you don't want to do that. That's challenging to a dog, especially if they're afraid or aggressive. So I don't look at him. I don't really address him other than letting him hear my voice. And, you know, I just move cautiously, but not timidly, because you don't want to be timid around a dog either. And, you know, you want to be assertive. And so I just kind of talked to him softly while I'm doing this. And a couple of days ago, he walked up to me again and he licked my arm. And then he licked my arm again and he walked away. And he's done that a few times now. You know, a lot of times when a dog gets dumped, not always, but sometimes they will stay right where they're dumped because they don't know what to do and they're scared and they're waiting for their owner to come back. And that's kind of his situation, where somebody dumped him. Good morning, bud. I'm here. Hi, buddy. Oh, you still got food. You didn't eat your food last night. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. There you go. You got plenty of water. Plenty of water. There you go, buddy. All right, I'll see you later. I'll see you later, buddy. I've never tried to pet him. I don't think he's ready for that. You gonna let me pet you? Huh? It's okay. You gonna let me pet you? It's okay. You can sniff me. Yeah, I know. All right, I'll see you later. I'll see you tonight. He's still very, very timid, very skittish, very scared. But he is getting to the point where he's definitely happy to see me. And like I said, he has walked up and licked my arm a couple of times. But you know, I'm actually not the only person feeding him. I think I may be the only person doing it consistently, though. A couple of times I've pulled up and I saw like a pile of food on the ground. Yesterday I was out here and there was like a stack of lunch meat that this woman had thrown out. So there's a couple other people who traverse this road that feel bad for him too. But like I said, there's really no animal control type of resources here that I'm aware of, and I looked back when we had the puppies, and there's none that take cats, for sure. The animal shelter that is around only takes dogs, and only if they have room, which is pretty much never. And with the fact that he has been so aggressively scared, they'll just put him down immediately. He looks to be, I think, a German Shepherd, or at least a German Shepherd mix. There is a German Shepherd rescue in Northwest Alabama that I found on, I think I found it on Facebook. I'm going to reach out to them and just see if there's anything that they can do about him. They do specialize in abused and neglected German Shepherds, but I don't know if they're like all about purebreds. I don't know. Rescues can be kind of funny about that sometimes. But it's a sad situation, and I really hate it when I see stuff like this happening. And it's you know, when the puppy situation happened, people were like, oh, you know, Arkansas is awful, blah, 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 Arkansas. You know, it happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. That's how I ended up with our Catahoula leopard dog mix, Ute, because him and his sister were dumped in the woods. I think they were at a lake in Alabama. Shotzi was found as a stray. Duke was found as a stray. And Duke was a very... he didn't know if humans talked to dogs. We thought he was deaf when we first got him. So, terrible animal owners are everywhere. It just sucks. I wish people would get their animals fixed. You know, like Bob Barker used to always say, have your pets spayed or neutered. And I know there's a lot of argument about whether you should do that or not, whether it's biblical or not, but we live in a fallen world where people don't take care of things. I think it's better to spay or neuter an animal than have animals suffering and sick and dying and just... We're supposed to take good care of our animals. We are supposed to be good stewards. And having more animals than you can care for and all of that mess, that's not being a good steward. So that is what I have been up to. Like I said, it's a terrible situation. I'm going to reach out to that animal rescue group, see if there's anything they can do. And if not, I'll just keep feeding him, and I'll keep giving him water and take care of him as best I can. I think I'm going to go get him a doghouse so he's at least got shelter. I mean, he's been out there for at least a month that we're aware of. So he's been here, he's been out there through some major storms, and he can, I mean, sort of take shelter with those couches, but not much. So I'm going to get him a doghouse so he can at least go inside. He's got the shade from the woods, but at least he'll have a place where he can get away from the rain. And, you know, it's just awful. And I wish I could help them all, but I've got my limitations. I can't bring him here to the property. I can't pet him for one thing. If I even look at him too long, he growls at me. I can't bring him around the rest of the animals. It's just not possible. But we'll help him out as best we can, and as long as we can, as long as he's there, we'll keep providing for him. And like I said, hopefully that rescue can help. Stuff like this just hurts my heart, So, anyways, that is it for today. Thanks for joining me here again at the homestead and on the road a little bit. God bless, and I'll talk to y'all next time.